Hello everyone and welcome back. First of all, you will see some new adjustments to the video. From now on I will put a turntable in front of the video, so you will see the whole set or piece that is getting worked on, and in the lower corner you will actually see the piece that I'm working on at this moment. This is a set that has multiple pieces. Two of them are showcased in the video. The skirt without the jewelry that you can see in the picture, because I added that at a later time, and the corset top that the character is wearing, or that is part of this set. The first of the two skirts, so it's actually two skirts, is a tube that I formed around the body. This is not a copy-paste or a part of the full body suit that you see underneath that I usually use for my clothing, but at a later point I used this full body suit for the pants and for the arm and shoulder piece. So the skirt is actually just a very simple adjustment of the tube. The most adjustment is around the hip of the character, as you can see, and the other part is mostly very simple mesh to accentuate the legs here. The second skirt, what I'm currently doing, is also a tube that I first changed the form a bit. As you can see, I've tilted the sides of this so it would fit a bit better around the torso, and it would give a more distinct shape to it. Again, the jewelry is added or was added at a later time, and I don't have this in this video, so I will do the jewelry video, a specific one, at a later occasion. Speaking of future videos, on Wednesday next video will be a tutorial, because I was asked about the open and closed jacket morph. This is something that I will do in this next video, just for everyone who looks towards the design part. This is not part of the next video on Wednesday. Right now I'm using the tool to just pull out a bit of the clothing. As you can see, I'm trying to emulate folds with this, because clothing usually folds, and in 3D it is very simple to forget these parts that make the video more that make the clothing more natural. And in the videos, especially when I do this, I try to add these parts back in, so you have a good idea of how to do this yourself, how to work with this, even though this is just a work in progress showcase and not a tutorial. Finally, I'm working now on the clasp for the skirts. This was a very simple form, if you so will. It was deliberately kept very simple, without the intricate motion of wrapping the skirt around it to better show it off. And I'm using the connect tool here to add more lines to accentuate the shape more, because on smoothing this down it usually tends to move out of place. Yeah, lastly we're looking at the UV maps for the skirts. The edges get very simple UV maps, and you can see that even the skirt has a very good UV map from itself, so I didn't have to alter this further. I could have altered this, and we could have put this better into place, but I decided, since I planned to use very simple colors on this, very broad colors on this from the beginning, that I didn't need a very intricate work on the UV maps. Same for the clasp. The second part that we are looking at, and that we start right now, is the corset piece, the top piece. I actually did this 2 times because my program decided to crash on me while I was working on this. Yeah, it is a very simple adaptation of the full body suit of Genesis 2 Female that I made myself. So the suit is actually something that I made. That is something you wouldn't find online, at least not this one. And the ornaments, the adornments that I did are a copy paste, mostly, at least the base part that is the blue leather is a copy paste of the original thing that I then used the thicken tool on to give it a bit more depth. The metallic adornments on front are done by hand. As you can see, they are formed by hand. At first I thought about copy pasting the top one to the lower part, but this would have meant a lot of work to just adjust this already formed, already finished shape to a new spot. So I decided to make the second one by hand. A good idea, if you do this yourself, would be to copy the shape after thickening before you adjust it to the depth. That would probably be the piece or the workflow with the least amount of work time. But by doing a second shape, I can slightly vary it, I can slightly alter it without too much work, and thus have 2 different or similar but still different pieces. You can see that the center part of this is different in the second one. The outside, the ends of this I left as is, or I copied them over from the first one, which is also fine to do if you want to do this. The most part of this was adjusting this again to the actual shape underneath, to the leather base, and I'm using the connect tool here to give it an additional side to pronounce the shape of it more. You can see that I'm also using the connect tool to just add a few more edges in between, which helps in defining the overall shape. Lastly, I copy pasted the edges to give the whole thing more depth. This is something that you will see me do quite often, or that you can see quite often, and I decided to add some more details in the back. Very, very simple. This is for the idea that it doesn't catch the eye, it doesn't hold up the viewer too much on it, but there is still something that opens up the whole structure, that opens up the whole shape and doesn't make it too monochrome. Again, we're working on the UV maps. Very simple, very blunt, but it works for this kind of model where you just have a very blunt and monochrome color on each piece. The only thing that really has a bit of texture is the leather and the metal. The other parts are very, very blunt and very, very simple in its colors. You can also see that I have both shapes of leather and both shapes of metal on the same UV map, which means they share UV map and they share the texture in the end. That's it for this video. Again, next video will be a tutorial on the open jacket. Enjoy the render at the end, and as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys around.